A strange boy-like character finds himself in a house filled with bizarre items as if the owner collects surreal things from around the universe. A monstrous-like entity known as Henry who has kidnapped and trapped the boy-like character here. The protagonist of the story is called Mellow, who starts his journey in a room filled with interactable items. He finds a note glued to the carpet which acts as the introduction, which Mellow goes over, but after finishing he says that he wished he could read. So this gives us some sort of a clue that Mellow must be young, possibly younger than 7, as the average age of learning how to read is 6 to 7 years old. Interacting with the smiling face clock, it gives Melo a menacing look, directly looking at him as if the clock is actually alive, having sinister intentions, waiting for the right moment to strike. Despite the menacing look, the clock doesn't do anything, with Melo getting bored and moving on to interact with other items. Looking at the calendar, it reads 2002, which correlates with the current technology when Melo manages to plug in the computer and access it. Accessing the computer, which runs on a parody operating system of Microsoft, being referred to as Macrotough Doors XP. 2 user profiles show up, one being with the name of Mellow and another locked profile named Henry. This suggests Mellow probably has already been here for a while, managing to create a profile for himself, or the other possibility would be that the owner of this place, the person who brought him here, has created this profile for him which he can access. Signing into his own profile and opening a folder, 4 images show up. The image named Henry shows a horrifying picture, illustrating how Melo in fact is held here unwillingly, under the grasp and control of Henry, who happens to be a powerful monstrous-looking entity. The image shows how Henry has cupped his hand around Melo's head, keeping him in his house. Another image labeled as Counting displays how Melo has been disciplined and punished several times, which has made him feel anxious and scared. The culprit seems to be Henry, who uses a paddle to hit Henry whenever he does something that he perceives as misbehavior, possibly trying to escape or anything Henry doesn't approve of. This clearly has left an impression on Melo, who is scared of getting hit again, thinking about the paddle. It's not clear why Henry has kidnapped Melo, and we don't know if more children have been kidnapped or not, but clearly Henry collects many strange items. Finally, the last image unveiling parts of the lore, labeled as Truck, displays a heartbreaking image of how someone is thrown off the back of the truck of a couple of people, most likely showing the backstory of Melo. The image is very vague, and some possibilities of what it means could be that his friends or even family abandoned him, which led to Henry finding him and kidnapping him and keeping him prisoner in his house, which could be in the woods or somewhere isolated. This might explain why a child the age of Melo is not found already, as the friends or parents probably didn't care about him much to look for him. Observing a drawing that he made from before, which is framed on the wall, displays how he has been here for a while to have made this drawing. The content of the drawing confirms Melo is a young child by how amateur and childish the drawing is. The drawing shows a family of flowers with a child flower, which could be a representation of himself and his parents. That's when suddenly, hearing muffled sounds coming from the drawing, he takes the frame off the wall, noticing a strange flat creature hiding behind the drawing, introducing itself as Wallbank. Wallbank is a reference to the strange piggy banks that were trendy a while ago, which ate coins. Similarly, this Wallbank asks the protagonist to feed it some coins to unveil a secret. Unsure to what the secret could be, seeing this entity for the first time ever, who happened to enjoy dwelling behind the drawing frame, Melo plans to find some coins to feed the Wallbank to find out the secret. Determined to know the secret, Melo leaves his room and goes to the hall, where he encounters even stranger items collected by Henry, the owner of this place. A talking tipboard, moving paintings, and much more. Finding a door with a big sign on it saying, "Not to open," the protagonist, not knowing how to read, opens it, which springs open fast, hitting Melo against the wall. The tipboard, which was just snoozing, gets startled and jumps out of sleep, starting to bark. The board in an irritated manner shouts at Melo, telling him off that the door quite literally said not to open. Melo apologizes and explains that he can't read when the board becomes calmer, introducing itself as Tip, being a board to offer its services giving others guidance. Melo asking what's going on in this surreal place. The board answers he is equally confused as he was stolen off its mother's lawn and taken to this house by Henry, which is filled with other entities. So this confirms Henry has stolen or kidnapped many items and entities to decorate his house. If anyone tries to escape, they will meet the other end of Henry's paddle as a method of punishment. The board continues that Henry is a lizard type of entity wrapped in burlap, someone whom Tip has seen hit Melo in the head with the paddle a few times before. This reveals that Melo has been here for a while now, but being hit in the head so many times has caused his memory to get pretty bad, forgetting where he is, who Henry is, and who the other entities he has encountered before are. This corresponds with the image he saw on the computer with his head being concaved, thinking about the paddle, forgetting to mark the last tally marking depicting his fading memory. Having the option to tell Tip that Melo prefers boards without the mouth, it severely upsets Tip, who explains that hurt him, which results in him disappearing, not wanting to talk to Melo any longer. Moving forward and going to the bathroom, Melo finds a plunger which he uses to knock on the toilet with a large red tongue-like creature coming out. Confused to what or who it is, he asks the entity to identify himself, which confuses it as if they have met before, which makes the entity think Melo's memory is not doing too well after being hit in the head too many times by Henry, explaining Melo is in his own house, addressing him as a boy, confirming he is a young boy, someone who has been in this house for too long, to the point this entity refers to this house as his house. Either way, the entity doesn't waste much time and offers to take Melo on an adventure as long as he knows the password. Not knowing what the password is, he goes back to the hall where he finds Tip being back to where it was, being upset. Apologizing for what it said, saying it likes boards with mouths, Tip offers Melo a tip that the wall bank has a secret, which happens to be the password for the toilet entity to take Melo on the promised adventure. He gives Melo directions to go through a secret hatch in his room in order to get to the kitchen and find some coins. This paints a pretty good picture that Melo has been trapped in this house for a long time, to the point that he sees it as his house, but by the looks of it, only having access to a bathroom and a bedroom, it's clear he is kept as a prisoner, kidnapped for the sinister enjoyment of Henry. Going back to his bedroom and sitting on the chair, the secret hatch opens leading to the ventilation ducts, which Melo crawls through, leading to the kitchen. Falling down on the fridge, a loud sound is made, which leads to Henry hearing the sound and rushing towards the kitchen. That's when Melo quickly hides in a cabinet, with Henry arriving in the kitchen. Parading back and forth a little bit, Henry directly addresses the players, breaking the fourth wall, asking where the boy is. In here, we don't have much choice as the monstrous Henry parades back and forth forever if let be, unless we point to where Melo is hiding. Snitching on him and revealing his hideout, Henry cups his hand around Melo's head, taking him out of the cabinet and bunking him over the head with his paddle, which Henry had envisioned in the image on the computer, making his head the pin. This reveals how many times Melo had possibly tried to escape, leading to him getting hit over the head many times, causing his memory to get blurry. Even the tongue-like creature from the toilet felt bad for him, as he offered to take him on an adventure to take his mind off things, and the brutality of his imprisonment in this place helping take the edge off a little. That's when the screen blacks out, revealing that this was nothing but an intrusive thought by Melo, as he is still in his bedroom, thinking of the worst case scenario. Nonetheless, he bravely goes through the same vent duct to go to the kitchen and find the coins to feed the wall bank. The same scenario plays out, with Henry hearing the bang emitted from the fall on the fridge, but this time around, instead of snitching on Melo, we can show a false location, which leads to Henry getting irritated, telling the players that they think think that they're only smart before leaving the kitchen. Getting out of the cabinet, trying to leave through the same door Henry came through, Melo notices the door doesn't have any knob on the inside, being a heavy reinforced door, making a perfect trapdoor, with Henry making sure Melo would never leave. As Melo checks the fridge, he finds a slice of cheese, which he takes, which might come in handy in his journey. As he uses a stool and goes up the vent, a tentacle from an unknown monster grabs him and tries to pull him, to which if Melo doesn't react fast enough, he would quite literally lose his head and be prompted to try again. Otherwise, if Melo manages to pull free, he is thrown back in his room with the vent collapsing on its own, blocking the hatch entryway. Using the slice of cheese to lure the insect from the hole, a cockroach comes out which Melo stomps on, revealing it had swallowed a couple of coins, which he takes and feeds to the wall bank. Wall bank in return gives him the password for the toilet creature to be taken on an adventure. As he tries to leave, the clock, which gave him menacing looks as if monitoring him, comes out of the wall, revealing that it always had a buddy, preventing Melo to go out, as if acting as a goon for Henry, preventing Melo to escape. This entity known as Clucky acts as a mini-boss fight when Tip rushes in, doing what he can to protect Melo, giving him fighting tips for blocking and attacking. If Melo fails to defend himself, Clucky cuts him in half vertically. On the other hand, if Melo defeats it, Clucky pukes out oil and collapses, dying on the spot with flies already circling it, depicting it was organic and had flesh and organs already going into the state of decomposition. Tipboard, who is able to appear in any place coming out of the ground, shows genuine care and concern for Melo, extremely happy that he is alright, congratulating him on his victory and telling him that there will be a lot more trouble on his path, revealing that there are many more goons or villains he will face, preparing to help him whenever Melo needs it. On the way to the bathroom, the ever-watching painting with two pairs of eyes is gone now, opening an entry to a hidden room. Going there, Melo meets a robotic genius surgeon who sings a beautiful song for Melo, explaining who it is. This genius surgeon who loved someone continues that he was the one who created Clucky, the monstrous clock whom Melo murdered, an ever-watching creature. Despite confessing he killed it, the doctor doesn't seem to care as his nature of work makes him desensitized to death or living, seeing them all as the same, as he kills to revive, revives the death and brings to life and everything else. He explains his profession is a freelance surgeon working for the ones who pay him, which explains Henry possibly hired him to create certain creatures for whatever sick and twisted purpose. This entity further explains Clucky fulfilled their purpose, so it doesn't matter that they are dead now, and that Melo will fulfill their purpose at some point too. Which brings about a question to who Melo truly is. Is he actually a real boy who was abandoned by his group of friends or parents if he was kidnapped by Henry? or if he was created by the surgeon who, similarly to Clucky, an entity he mentioned to have fulfilled their purpose, will fulfill his purpose at some point too. Also, his remarkable ability to brawl and fight makes it quite ambiguous to how he managed to fight off a menacing entity like Clucky as a child. Also, being bunked over the head so many times and not being able to remember many things before makes it quite odd to who he actually is. Finally, asking the surgeon about their bride, he simply explains that they are under the ground, which will be important later on for unlocking the secret ending. Mellow continues on to go to the bathroom, giving the strange toilet creature the password, which results in it stretching out and getting a hold of Mellow, taking him forcibly down the toilet. This leads to Mellow's journey coming to an end, having a one-to-one with the creator of the game, Andyland. Andyland asks the players for feedback, leaving us with 3 options to say we're having fun, that the game is just okay, or negative feedback that it's not good. The dialogue is different based on each choice, to which Andy appreciates the players and asks them to wishlist the game for full release if they enjoyed it. And if not, he explains that he understands this game is not everyone's cup of tea. The game is currently planned to come out in Q4 this year with a lot more content and bosses, expanding on what is really going on in the strange and surreal world. For unlocking the secret ending, Melo needs to interact with the light bulbs in order to say the words underground, which results to Melo getting absorbed beneath the ground, which in a way goes back to the strange encounter he had with the first light bulb in his room, having an ominous conversation in slow-mo. Finding himself in a dark, cold place, Melo explores the place, which shows him disturbing images of mouths and teeth and a partially visible image of someone in a bathtub, as if showing some uncomfortable experiments of the freelance surgeon. Seeing an illustration of human body parts and assembling them to create one person from many different body parts, Melo goes to a different room where he finds a living entity resembling the graph of a person made from hundreds of different body parts, essentially being the Frankenstein's monster. Trying to interact with this experiment, the woman shouts in agony and pain, seemingly being made of 2 main bodies or people. This becomes evidently more and more clear to be the bride of the freelance surgeon who merged 2 different people together, one being strong and the other beautiful, to create the ideal bride. This corresponds with the disturbing images of 2 people being merged together, creating one from the essence of 2. The cruelty of the surgeon is unveiled here, and how little he values the lives of beings and people. As he explained, entities live and die, he revives, he kills, he merges and much more, and he even didn't bother with the death of Clucky, saying that they served their purpose. Therefore, for the surgeon, all he cared about was the success of his experiments and nothing else. In his perspective, the monstrosity he has created, the nightmare that is the bride, is someone who is serving their purpose, being cruel enough to merge 2 different women he took a liking to, making this monster of a being. Therefore, the surgeon has a big part in all of this, and his character might be even more important than Henry. This brings about the question if Mellow is a real boy himself or just another project of the psychotic surgeon. He has remarkable ability in fighting. He managed to survive the brutal bunks of Henry, which would surely kill anyone in his place, and his entire look is suspicious. He has a very unhuman-like appearance. In an official trailer for the full release, we can see how actual humans look like, which are completely different to how Mellow looks like. So it's quite likely Mellow is another experiment of the surgeon placed in this bizarre place to fulfill some sort of sick and twisted purpose. Maybe this work was commissioned by Henry, who was alone in this house and wanted some sort of a child. Therefore, the image of him being dumped out of a truck could be Mellow's imagination of his own backstory to keep his own sanity, and in reality he was just a creation by this mad scientist. That's it for this video, folks. I'm really looking forward to the full release, and make sure to stay tuned as I will be covering it. As always, it's been your host Dar. Thanks for being here, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.